When I walked into that glass door during my job interview with Mitchell Marketing Group, I thought my chances of getting hired were ruined. As someone desperately trying to pay for my mother's cancer treatment, I needed that marketing assistant position more than life itself. You won't believe what happened next. I never expected CEO Sean Mitchell to start crying when he saw my face, or that the old photograph on his desk would reveal the shocking truth about why my mother never talked about my father. Sometimes when you think you're hitting rock bottom, you're actually about to discover that the family you thought was lost forever has been searching for you all along. Hi everyone, welcome to Life's Changing Stories. Now, let's dive into today's story. The cramped studio apartment that Janet Williams shared with her terminally ill mother had become increasingly suffocating over the past 8 months, as mounting medical bills, prescription costs, and the looming threat of eviction created a constant atmosphere of financial desperation that made every day feel like a battle for survival. At 24, Janet had been forced to put her college education on hold and work multiple part-time jobs to support her mother's cancer treatment. Watching helplessly as her dreams of building a career in marketing seemed to slip further away with each passing month of unpaid bills and rejected job applications. Janet's mother, Linda Williams, had been battling stage 3 breast cancer since the previous winter, undergoing chemotherapy treatments that had drained both her physical strength and their modest savings account, while leaving her too weak to work at the grocery store where she had been employed for 15 years. The medical expenses not covered by their basic health insurance plan had created a crushing debt load that threatened to overwhelm Janet's ability to maintain their housing and continue paying for the treatments that were her mother's only hope for survival. Throughout Janet's childhood, Linda had worked tirelessly to provide a stable home environment, despite being a single mother with limited resources and no family support system to help during difficult times. Janet had never known her father, and whenever she asked about him during her younger years, Linda would become uncomfortable and change the subject, offering only vague explanations that they didn't work out or that he wasn't ready to be a father before deflecting the conversation toward other topics. The only evidence Janet had ever seen of her father's existence was a single wedding photograph that Linda kept hidden in a shoebox in her bedroom closet, showing a young couple on what appeared to be their wedding day, though Linda had never explained the circumstances of their separation or why she had chosen to raise Janet alone without any contact or financial support from her biological father. This morning, Janet was preparing for what felt like the most important job interview of her life, a marketing assistant position with Mitchell Marketing Group that offered both competitive salary and health benefits that could help cover her mother's ongoing treatment costs. As she applied her makeup and tried to hide the exhaustion that came from working nights at a convenience store while caring for her mother during the day, Janet whispered a silent prayer that she would somehow find the words to convince the hiring manager that she deserved this opportunity despite her incomplete education and limited professional experience. Sean Mitchell sat behind the mahogany desk in his corner office at Mitchell Marketing Group, ending another frustrated phone call with the private detective agency that had been searching unsuccessfully for 5 years to locate a woman who had disappeared from his life when he was just 19 years old. At 29, Sean had built his father's struggling advertising firm into one of the most successful marketing companies in the region. But his professional achievements felt hollow compared to the emotional void created by a family secret that had been revealed only after his grandfather's death 5 years earlier. The truth that Sean had learned from his grandfather's deathbed confession had shattered everything he thought he knew about his family history and explained why his father had died alone and heartbroken despite having built a successful business empire. Sean's grandfather had revealed that Sean's mother hadn't abandoned them by choice, but had been forced to leave through emotional manipulation and financial coercion that separated her from the family she loved in order to save Sean's life during a medical crisis that had occurred when he was just 4 years old. Sean's search for his mother had consumed both his emotional energy and significant financial resources over the past 5 years, with private investigators following leads across multiple states while trying to locate a woman who had seemingly disappeared without leaving any trace of her current identity or whereabouts. The photograph on Sean's desk showed his mother holding him as a baby, the only visual reminder he possessed of the woman who had sacrificed everything to ensure his survival during a childhood illness that had required expensive surgery and months of specialized medical care. The receptionist's nervous announcement that his 10 o'clock interview candidate had arrived interrupted Sean's brooding about the latest dead end in his search, reminding him that he needed to focus on business responsibilities, even though his heart remained focused on finding the mother who had been forced to abandon him to save his life. As Sean was reviewing the resume for Janet Williams and preparing to conduct what he expected would be another routine hiring interview, he heard a loud crash from outside his office, followed by embarrassed apologetics from someone who had apparently collided with the glass door that separated his private office from the main work area. Janet Williams entered Sean's office with obvious embarrassment, her cheeks flushed from the awkward collision with his door, and her professional demeanor clearly rattled by the clumsy start to what she desperately needed to be a successful job interview. "I'm so sorry about that," Janet said, smoothing her skirt and trying to regain her composure while avoiding eye contact with the intimidating CEO who would be deciding whether she received the marketing position that could save her mother's life. "I was distracted by something I saw and didn't notice the glass door until it was too late." Sean was initially annoyed by the interruption to his carefully scheduled day, but something about Janet's appearance and manner of speaking triggered a vague sense of familiarity that he couldn't immediately identify or explain. "What distracted you?" Sean asked, curious about what could have caused such a dramatic entrance to his office. Janet hesitated before explaining, "I saw the photograph on your desk, and I thought I recognized the woman in the picture. I was trying to get a better look when I walked straight into your door." Sean's heart began racing as he processed Janet's words, scarcely daring to hope that after 5 years of fruitless searching, a job applicant might have accidentally provided the breakthrough he had been desperately seeking. "You recognize the woman in this photograph?" Sean asked, his voice carrying an urgency that transformed the atmosphere in the office from a routine business meeting into something much more emotionally charged and potentially life-changing. Sean guided Janet to his desk and handed her the framed photograph that he had been studying obsessively for 5 years, searching her face for any sign of recognition while trying to control the hope that was building in his chest, despite years of disappointment and false leads. Janet examined the photograph carefully, her expression shifting from curiosity to shock as she recognized the young woman holding the baby in the faded color snapshot. "Of course, that's my mother," Janet said immediately, though her voice carried confusion about the context of the image. "But I don't understand who this baby is or why you have this picture." Sean felt his world spinning as he processed the implications of Janet's confirmation, nearly losing his balance as he realized that the job applicant standing in his office might be the key to finding the mother who had been forced to disappear from his life 25 years earlier. "You're her daughter," Sean said, staring at Janet's face and seeing subtle resemblances to his own features that he had never noticed before. "How old are you?" "I'll be 25 next month," Janet replied, growing increasingly puzzled by the strange turn their conversation had taken and the intense emotion she could see building in Sean's expression. Sean whispered almost to himself, "She was pregnant when she left," as the full truth of his family's separation began to crystallize in his understanding. "Please," Sean said, his earlier professional demeanor completely replaced by desperate pleading, "I need you to take me to see your mother. I can explain everything, but I have to see her first." Janet agreed without hesitation, sensing that this unexpected encounter might finally provide answers to the questions about her father that her mother had been avoiding for her entire life. During their drive to her apartment, Janet explained her mother's battle with cancer and her own struggles to provide care while working multiple jobs to cover medical expenses that threatened to bankrupt their small family. When they arrived at Janet's modest apartment building, Linda Williams answered the door as a thin, frail woman whose illness had clearly taken a severe toll on her physical appearance, though her eyes still carried the warmth and intelligence that Sean remembered from his earliest childhood memories. Linda didn't immediately recognize Sean, but he knew instantly that he was looking at the mother who had been forced to abandon him to save his life 25 years earlier. Sean broke down in tears and embraced Linda before she could react, calling her mom and leaving both women confused and alarmed by the emotional intensity of his response to meeting her. After composing himself enough to sit down and explain the situation, Sean revealed the truth that his grandfather had confessed on his deathbed 5 years earlier. His grandfather had never approved of Linda's marriage to Sean's father because she came from a middle-class background that he considered beneath their family's social status, and he had spent years trying to undermine their relationship through various forms of financial and emotional pressure. When Sean had suffered a life-threatening illness at age 4 that required expensive surgery and extended hospital care, the family's insurance had been insufficient to cover the costs, and Sean's grandfather had offered to pay all medical expenses with one condition. Linda had to leave her husband and son permanently, never to contact them again or reveal her whereabouts. "You had no choice," Sean said, tears streaming down his face as he finally understood the impossible decision his mother had been forced to make. "You saved my life by sacrificing everything you loved." Linda had discovered she was pregnant shortly before making the agonizing decision to leave, but she had never told Sean's father about the baby because she knew the knowledge would have made their separation even more devastating for everyone involved. "I wanted you to live, even if it cost me everything," Linda whispered, her voice breaking as she explained the 25 years of grief and longing she had endured while wondering whether her sacrifice had been worthwhile. Hours later, as Linda rested in her bedroom after the emotional intensity of their reunion, Sean gently woke Janet and assured her that their mother's vital signs were stable and that the shock of their meeting seemed to have given her renewed strength rather than worsening her condition. "I couldn't save our father," Sean said, pulling Janet into a warm embrace, "but this time I'll be there for her and for you. I promise that no one will ever break our family apart again." Sean immediately arranged for Linda to receive treatment at the finest cancer center in the country, with all expenses covered by his personal resources and the best oncologists available to develop a comprehensive treatment plan that offered hope for recovery that had seemed impossible just hours earlier. Janet's journey had begun with a desperate search for employment to save her mother's life, but had led instead to the discovery of a half-brother whose wealth and resources could provide the medical care Linda needed while reuniting a family that had been torn apart by pride, manipulation, and impossible choices. Their story became a powerful reminder that reaching out and supporting each other can lead to unexpected healing and new beginnings, and that it's often through our toughest times that we find the strength to connect, understand, and build a better future together. Sometimes when we think we're facing our greatest challenges alone, we're actually about to discover that the help we need has been searching for us all along, waiting for the right moment to transform our lives in ways we never thought possible. The family that had been separated by wealth and pride was finally reunited by love and the determination to ensure that no external force could ever again divide the bonds that connected them across time, distance, and the pain of enforced separation. We hope you enjoyed today's story of love, life, and betrayal. For more free stories and entertainment from our channel, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe with notifications.